Good morning, everyone. My name is Himanshi Sukhwani, and my student ID is 1648804. I have the privilege of starting off our group presentation. I am joined by my teammates Chansi, Abhishek, and Salman, and together we will be exploring the leadership journey of Henry Ford, who is one of the most influential figures in industrial history. I will begin with a brief overview of Ford's leadership approach, followed by how it aligns with well-known leadership theories, and conclude with a few key reflections on its limitations. Firstly, we will talk about leadership overview. Henry Ford was the founder of the Ford Motor Company, is widely recognized for revolutionizing production through the introduction of the moving assembly line. This innovation significantly increased efficiency and made automobiles accessible to the general public. Ford's leadership was defined by strong operational control and a clear vision. However, his style was predominantly autocratic, as he maintained strict authority and limited employee involvement in decision-making processes. Let's talk about application of leadership theories. When analyzed through key leadership theories, according to the trait theory, Ford demonstrated characteristics such as confidence, determination, and foresight. If we talk about from his behavioral perspective, his focus remained largely on task with limited emphasis on employee relations. And if we talk about managerial grid, he aligns with the authority compliance style, prioritizing efficiency over interpersonal engagement. Under leader member exchange (LMX theory), his approach reflected low levels of trust and minimal delegation, which in turn restricted collaboration and innovation. Now we will talk about self-awareness and leadership shortcomings. Despite his achievements, Ford's leadership had notable limitations. He resisted adapting to market changes, most clearly seen in his reluctance to move beyond the Model T. Furthermore, he demonstrated low emotional intelligence and did not engage in reflective practices such as seeking feedback or using self-assessment tools like the Johari window. This ultimately resulted in rigid decision-making and reduced adaptability. Thank you. Now I would like to hand over Jhansi to continue with the next section of our presentation.
Thank you, Himanshi, for explaining us about some of the points regarding the Henry Ford's leadership analysis. Today, I'll be discussing about Henry Ford's leadership through three lenses: emotional intelligence, courage and moral leadership, and motivation and empowerment. Coming to the emotional intelligence, Henry Ford was a visionary, but his emotional intelligence had major gaps. So while he had strong drive and self-motivation, he struggled with self-regulation, making impulsive decisions, and executives who disagreed with him. So his reluctance to listen and adapt, like clinging to the Model T despite market changes, revealed how weak social skills and his poor emotional awareness undermined his success. So he showed little empathy even though he paid high wages. He imposed strict moral codes and surveillance through his sociological department, which created unrest and a different culture. Now coming to the courage and moral leadership, Ford's industrial courage was undeniable. He pursued dream of an affordable car, introduced the moving assembly line, and launched the $5 day, doubling wages and shocking the business world. But his moral leadership was far more complex. Later, his anti Semitic publications through the Dearborn Independent revealed serious ethical failings, showing that while he had industrial bravery, he lacked the moral courage to confront his prejudices. But his moral leadership was far more complex. He resisted labor unions using harsh tactics that led to violent clashes like the Battle of the Overpass. And then coming to the motivation and empowerment, Henry Ford transformed worker motivation with the $5 day, slashing turnover and attracting top talent through extrinsic rewards. But this came with heavy control. Workers had to follow strict moral codes, and their private lives were monitored. So, on the assembly line, tasks became repetitive and creativity was stilled, offering little intrinsic motivation or real empowerment. So Henry Ford motivated his workforce financially but failed to truly trust or empower them. And in conclusion, Henry Ford transformed worker motivation with a $5 day. So, in short, Henry Ford was a pioneering innovator and a man of great industrial courage. But his low emotional intelligence, ethical blind spots, and controlling style created major leadership challenges. So, his story shows that his true leadership requires not just vision, but empathy, integrity, and the ability to empower others. Now my colleague will continue the parts of the Henry Ford leadership analysis. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Abhishek Siwakwati. My student ID is 1672843. Today I'm going to talk about leadership communication. Henry Ford had a really direct and focused communication style. He was all about his vision and wasn't afraid to push it strongly. He was actually great at public relations for his time. He used things like the Dearborn Independent to say his views on business society and how he thought the world should work. One thing he did really well was storytelling. He painted the Model T as the car for the great multitude, which made it feel like a car for everyone and helped turn it into a symbol for American progress. But while he could communicate his vision really clearly to the public, he wasn't great at listening, I would say, especially inside the company. If someone disagreed with him, they were often let go. So there wasn't much room for different opinions or open discussions. Some of his public statements also stirred controversy, especially his anti-Semitic writings, which showed lack of sensitivity and definitely hurt his reputation, I would say. Uh, when it comes to like building and leading teams, Ford's focus was all about efficiency. His introduction to the assembly line changed everything. But instead of encouraging teamwork or collaboration, he broke tasks down so each worker just did one small repetitive job so they would be good on that. So rather than teams working together, it was more like everyone was a cog in a big machine. This made production super fast, but it also meant there wasn't much interaction, problem solving, or said leadership like we expect in modern teams today. In the end, Ford was great at driving a vision and getting results, but his leadership style didn't really support open communication or strong team dynamics. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Salman Farsi Sheetal. My student ID is 1647204. Today I'm going to present three topics: leading diversity and inclusion, power influence and leading change, lastly conclusion. Now I'll go one by one. So first come to leading diversity and inclusion. Henry Ford's commitment to diversity and inclusion was largely absent and in some respects detrimental. He had a diverse workforce in terms of nationality and race, but this often driven by labor demand rather than a philosophy of equitable opportunity. His approach was characterized by control and assimilation. The sociological department monitored moral conduct, aimed to Americanize immigrant workers, dictating their languages, customs, and finances. His virulent anti-Semitism propagated through the Dearborn Independent, which created hostile environment for Jewish employee and broader Jewish community. The next point is power, influence, and leading change. He had absolute control over Ford Motor operations due to ownership. He used this power to enforce his vision from Model T design to assembly line implementation. His influence has extended beyond his factories, inspired worldwide, establishing him as a symbol of American industrial might. Ford was a master of leading radical change, the shift from craft production to mass production, and he achieved this through number one, clear vision, Number 2, technological innovation. Number 3, process reengineering. Number 4, incentivization. Number 5, centralized control. Despite this, he struggled with adaptive changes. Insistence on Model T design led to market share loss, lacked flexibility to adapt to evolving markets. My last point is conclusion. He had complex leadership legacy, democratized automobile, and revolutionized manufacturing. He was a pioneer of a mass production. However, his autocratic style, limited emotional intelligence, and resistance to dissent often created a rigid and hostile work environment. For aspiring leaders, Ford Career offers key takeaways. Number 1, embrace vision and innovation. Number 2, prioritize operational excellence. Number 3, recognize adaptability. Number 4, cultivate emotional intelligence. Number 5, uphold ethical principles. That's all from us. Thank you.